had a real good shot at his chest, and I told Cobus, I got a chest shot. Cobus says, "Can you take it? You got it?" I said, "I got it." He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Take him." And about that time, I started squeezing the trigger. The Cape buffalo lifted his head to get a sniff of what he saw, and then he got a sniff of a 416 Weatherby.
Hi there, John McAdams here. Thanks a lot for joining me in this episode of the Big Game Hunting Podcast. Next up in our ongoing Africa hunting mini-series, I have a guy named Jimmy Epperson joining me on the show. Jimmy is a fellow Texan who has actually hunted South Africa with big game hunting adventures twice, and he's going to tell us about those two hunts. One hunt in August of 2023, another hunt he just wrapped up a little bit earlier this year, April and May of 2025. Now, similar to Scott Spanton from episode 294, Jimmy has a unique perspective on what it is like hunting with us multiple times. And like Scott, he hunted once early in the hunting season and once later in the hunting season. So he experienced that transition going from a very lush, green, thick hunting environment to one that is much drier, grass is much shorter, not as many leaves on the trees, all of those sort of things. Furthermore, Jimmy has also hunted a wide spectrum of game with us, ranging from jackal and impala on the small end, up through zebra, kudu, wildebeest, and whatnot in the middle, all the way up to the really big species of game like eland, buffalo, and giraffe. And of course, in addition to talking about all of that stuff, Jimmy shares a few memorable stories from each of his hunts and a couple of lessons he learned along the way. So let's get started talking to Jimmy about those two hunts. Jimmy, it is a pleasure having you on the show today. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Good day to you, John. Thank you for having me.
So, we're here to talk about a couple of hunts that you have gone on in Africa with us. First one was in 2023. Most recent one just wrapped up a few weeks ago. So, let's start back in the beginning. What made you want to hunt in Africa, and why did you contact me to help you do that?
Well, ever since I was very young, grew up, my family hunted out here in Texas, whitetail, dove, pig, and always had a little sense of adventure. I was kind of the black sheep of the family. Wanted to go out and do things that not everybody does, and learned of Cape buffalo, and they always fascinated me. It was just an animal that just really fascinated me. Read about it, Peter Chapstick, a lot of books on it, and finally got to a point that as my hair started graying up, I decided, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's step out. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
And going through, of course, online and researching, there's numerous folks out there. But whenever I came across your site, I liked what I saw. I liked how it was put together. It was what y'all were offering was really what I was looking for. I'm kind of a simple person. I want to go out. I want to be taken care of. I wanted to enjoy a good hunt, and a lot of Africa, the food, the sights, just the full meal deal, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all really seem to have a really good package. I was very interested in that. The background of the two professional hunters, Cobus and Johan. The more I looked at it, the more enthused I got about it, and I really felt good about it. I checked references that I'd gotten from you. Everybody just had absolutely great things to say.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, well, I've got another hunt planned, and I'm going back in 9 months or so. So actions speak louder than words. I think everybody I talked to had upcoming hunts, and so that pretty much sold me on that.
Now, when you initially booked this hunt, were you thinking that this was going to be a one and done thing for you, or were you anticipating that, hey, if this goes well, I may go back again in the future?
I really was looking at this is probably going to be the pinnacle of my hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend that I deer hunting with, who's been to Africa many times, And he forewarned me. He said, if you go, you can't just go once. You'll have to go back. And I'm like, well, okay, but let me go out on this one. I mean, I want to take a Cape buffalo, and sure enough, by the end of that hunt, it was like we were already discussing plans of when we were going to come back.
Mm-hmm. That is a very common story. I went on what I said was going to be my last hunt to Africa in 2012, and I've been back 4 times since then, and I'm going again this summer. So those were some words that I've definitely eaten over the years, and I know a lot of people have that same experience. So what specifically were you interested in hunting, and what sort of experience were you looking for this first trip?
Well, I tell you what, I really was looking for the Cape buffalo. That was the animal. If I didn't come back with anything else, I wanted to come back with Cape. If that's all it took, all the time that we were out there, the Cape. And I'd expressed that to y'all. And Cobus, he took that to heart, and he's like, hey, we're going to get on that, and we're going to knock that out. And it really, we started out hunting for the Cape. That wasn't the first animal I took. Just by chance, we were coming in, and we happened across a nyala that was standing on a mound at about 150 yards, and that was the first animal we dropped. And I believe the next day, we sit there and we were able to take my Cape. What I had always dreamed of and imagined in reading all these books, the showdown between hunter and Cape buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
the Black Death. And I wanted a 50-yard shot where he sees me, I see him, we recognize each other, and something's going to hit the ground. Hopefully the Cape buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the experience that I had, I couldn't have planned it any better. The Cape buffalo, we had to sit there and move around him about 90 degrees. We kept moving, and we'd set up on the sticks. I really don't have a shot. Move, set up on the sticks. I really don't have a shot. I don't have a clean shot. Kept moving around, and he was in just a small thicket of trees and brush. And finally, whenever we got about 90 degrees, he actually turned some and quartered away from me, exposing his left shoulder and chest. And I had a real good shot at his chest. And I told Cobus, I got a chest shot. Cobus says, can you take it? You got it? I said, I got it. He said, take him. And about that time, I started squeezing the trigger. The Cape buffalo lifted his head to get a sniff of what he saw, and then he got a sniff of a 416 Weatherby.
Now, this is very interesting talking to you about this, because you got your hunt videoed, and Isak shared the video with me, but you can't really see what the buffalo's doing so much in the video. Like you said, the brush is so thick. I could see you real well, and I could see you and Kubis focusing on it, and I could tell something was getting ready to go down, and I see you shoot, but I didn't realize that was how everything happened leading up to the shot.
It was, and of course, never having shot anything like that, and I was really concerned. I felt that I had a good sight picture on it, and was aiming just right inside that left shoulder to penetrate. And again, he was sort of quartering me, so I wanted to penetrate and go through. I was very fortunate. I actually did make a heart shot. Christian, and whenever they were doing the skinning and processing, he brought the heart out and goes, look, so I was very fortunate on that. But yes, the buffalo, whenever the round hit it, it lurched up as to buck, like a rodeo bull, and then he took out, and I could tell that his shoulder was giving some, And that's about the time Cobus slapped me on the back and grabbed my hand and said, "Congratulations, you got your buffalo."
And
And
so it really was that simple. One shot, and he.
on that, I was very, very fortunate. It was one shot. It came down to the way I'd always envisioned it. Again, 50 yards, he sees me, I see him. The nose up in the air, getting that sniff of, okay, you friend or foe,
Mhm.
and pulling the trigger. And I was just absolutely amazed. We started to move toward it, and Cobus said, "Okay, let's just give him just a little bit of time." And about that time, we heard the five death rattles from him,
Mhm.
the bellows. And after that fifth one, Cobus is like, "Okay, it's over. Let's come on." And came in on it, paid my insurance. He was down, he was dead, but I paid my insurance. A lot
Mhm.
of surprises.
Yeah.
Um, paid my insurance on it. It came up, and just really, I had no idea how magnificent and how large those animals are. Just truly couldn't have asked for anything. It really was. It was the pinnacle of my hunting and years of hunting.
Well, that classic bunny hop that you described the buffalo doing is what every PH wants to see when somebody shoots a buffalo. That's indicative of a heart shot like that, and like, okay, it's you can make it hard, or you can do it a little bit easier or less difficult like that. And I know that was buffalo is one of these things that a lot of people really dream about, and I know that's what you really wanted on that hunt. And so I know that it's so important for you not only to get it, but for it to be uh, go down the way you described it and with minimal drama after the shot like that.
It really was, and it was still even that evening. It was still surreal. Just going over in my mind. The events that occurred, and it really that evening at the lodge we did the celebratory cigar and have some 18-year-old scotch that we took a sip of and celebrated the occasion. A safe hunt, a good hunt. I was very proud. That was my Cape Buffalo. There might be bigger ones out there. I know there's a lot smaller ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very pleased with the animal. Uh, and like I said, I still, until you really get right up next to it and see just how big those Cape Buffalo bulls are, uh, they truly are. They're majestic animal,
Mm-hmm.
majestic.
So tell us a little bit about the rifles you brought on these hunts. We'll start with the first hunt.
I brought two rifles. Both of them were Weatherby's. The one that I had planned on using for more of the plains game, I had also wanted to look at a kudu, waterbuck, impala. And for those, I actually had brought a 300 Weatherby.
Mm-hmm.
The 300 Weatherby, the ammo that I brought was TTSX, I believe the Barnes
Mm-hmm.
monometal copper. The Nyala, I had both rifles with me. The Nyala, I actually shot with the 300. I think he ran about 60, 70 yards right into well, he was about 50 yards into a field of thorns,
Yeah.
um, and dropped. And, he did about the same thing. He kind of lunged and off he went and then dropped. Um, but that evening, whenever they were cleaning him, they did recover the bullet. It had been another one of these little quartering shots. They did recover the bullet, and one thing that I noticed about it was that was a 180 grain bullet, and half of it was gone. Pretty much the only thing left was the shank of the bullet itself. Whenever I got back home, I ended up weighing it and out of 180 grain, there was 108 grains of bullet. I was a little bit concerned about that out there. I didn't know what the weight was, but it's like there's not a whole lot of bullet left on this.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What range did you shoot that Inyala at?
that's probably about 150 yards.
Yeah, and so you were shooting it out of a 300 Weatherby, so it's going really fast. And even though that's a tough bullet, that's asking a lot out of it.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, and you know it like I said, I just my comfort level. And there again, I'm one in hunting. I think of hunting and taking a shot like shooting pool. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel it go in, if you don't feel the shot, it ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not going to. You got to really feel it and feel comfortable with the shot. Again, confidence with the rifle, ammo, and quite frankly, I'd never shot anything with that 300 Weatherby with that ammo.
Mm-hmm.
So there again, my first taste, and I don't know that I wouldn't use it again, that particular ammo, but um, anyway, the next day again, I got the Cape Buffalo. The Cape Buffalo, I used my 416 Weatherby Dangerous game rifle,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, I've got a Leopold VX6 2x12 with fire dot. And I really like the fire dot picture, especially in doing something with dangerous game, being able to come down to 2 power. You've got that fire dot. Cobus was carrying a 458 with a red dot on that, very close range gun.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I kind of felt that 416, again, being able to drop down to low power, having that fire dot on there gave me that option. Then also, the 416 Weatherby's got a trajectory about like a 30-06. Shooting a 30-06 with 180 grain. It's really a pretty flat, fairly
Mm-hmm.
flat shooting for a large bore. Um, and I like the fact he's got a lot of energy, 6,500 foot-pounds of energy coming out of the muzzle with 400 grain bullet. So penetration, I mean, if you put that bullet right, it's going to do some damage. And I have been shooting that rifle. That rifle was given to me by my wife some 15 years ago, actually before the hunt, specifically to go Cape Buffalo hunting. She knew back then that was my goal, that was my dream, and on one of our anniversaries, that was my gift.
Well, you have
And
a nice wife.
yes, yeah, yes, I do. Yes, yeah, and she's my best hunting buddy. I can say that. Cobus and the guys, they just love her. She's Auntie Joe. She took to them, and they took to her. And that was another great thing about it. This adventure just wasn't for me, but my wife. She's out there with us and enjoyed it. Christian just hovered over to her. I never feared for her 1 minute because I knew Christian was right there with her at all times. And so anyway, it was a great opportunity. But that rifle, there again, I'd had opportunity, and probably since I've had it, I had probably fired close somewhere between 400 and 500 rounds through it,
Wow.
which is a thing I'm very familiar with. And I know we talked, and you had said, well, we had discussed some things with airlines and countries and whatnot, regulations, some of the problems to avoid. And it was brought up, and of course, Cobus has rifles out there that could be used, and I explained to you that this is really this is my pinnacle hunt. I've had this rifle. This rifle was bought for me for this purpose, and I really want to go out and take my buffalo
Mm-hmm.
with my rifle. It was a rifle that I'm very comfortable with. I shot it many, many, many times. In fact, actually, the last couple of months before the hunt, probably ran another 100 rounds through it. Um, so I felt comfortable with it. I did everything from going out and buying dummy rounds to sit there and practice cycling the bolt. You know, practice, 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 practice. Um, so I really like that rifle. not pretty, but it's a workhorse. And the ammo, I get online and I get into the books and I talk with folks. And um, one of the things, and with Cape Buffalo, there's always the possibility, realistically, probability that you're probably going to have to cycle one or two more rounds into that animal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and one of the things I was concerned about was, okay, how do I get a soft point for my first round uh, that my point of impact is going to be the same on my second round and third
Mm-hmm.
round, and I'm shooting solids then. So doing the research and whatnot, I actually came across the new, not the old Hornady expanding, dangerous game expanding DGX, but the new bonded
Mm-hmm.
DGX, which essentially you've got the lead core, you've got a steel case, and then you've got a copper jacket over the top of it with their proprietary bonding with that. And had heard some really good things. I think y'all had recommended one of the type bullets to sit there and to look at. Um, but one of the interesting things was Hornady's Dangerous Game Solid in the 416 had the same BC, same sectional density.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking, same penetration. It's going to buck the wind, drop about the same. Point of impact should be absolute. And actually, in practicing with both rounds, it was.
Mm-hmm.
I could sit there and shoot either round and right on the money. So I felt very confident if I did have to take a second or third shot, my point of impact would be right where I wanted it. Um, Unfortunately, trying to find that combo in a 416 Weatherby, whether it be not being the most common ammo out there,
Yeah.
uh, I ended up having to get with a company up in Maryland, Hendershots, and they do custom ammo. And they didn't have those bullets. I had to search online and search and search and search, and actually find and buy the bullets. And I sent the bullets up there. They loaded them up in new normal brass,
Mm-hmm.
sent them down, shot them, fired them. Didn't have a problem with them. They did the job on the Cape Buffalo, um, and was very extremely pleased with it.
Now
Um,
that's very interesting. Like I'm looking on Weatherby's website as you and I are talking, and they offer 416 Weatherby ammo with the DGX, but not the DGS bullet, which is that's amazing to me that they would offer one without the other.
well,
And then Hornady does not offer that in a factory load, and the 416 Weatherby is one of those cartridges that a lot of people use it, but not that many compared to a lot of the other dangerous game cartridges, and
right.
so it's just common enough, but not that common. So man, I did not realize you had to go through all those hoops with
Yeah,
hinder shots and whatnot.
yeah. That was one of the things that, and again, I'm a plus personality type, and so a lot of researching, a lot of reading, a lot of people talking to folks. Maybe we didn't necessarily agree on uh, particular caliber or particular make or whatever, but getting their input, what they had seen. Again, my friend that I deer hunt with out in West Texas, uh, Lee, many times over to Africa. His first Cape Buffalo hunt, he ended up having to put 7 shots into the Cape Buffalo. So I'm going to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's been there many times. And I would like to say he probably mentored me as far as my first hunt going over.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but just putting everything together and trying to put that right package so that whenever the time presented itself, we can make the kill. We can make a humane kill, a quick kill, um, out of respect for the animal and respect for the hunt.
Okay, very interesting. Hearing all of that, we'll talk more about hinder shots for your next hunt in a minute, because that's not the only time you ended up having to use them.
Hmm.
But so you took the Inyala first, then you ended up taking your buffalo early in the hunt.
Right.
What else did you end up taking on this first trip over?
Well, despite the bite and the bark of the 416, I decided I was going to go ahead and keep on shooting with the 416. Uh, it could handle anything that I was going to come across,
Oh yeah, yeah.
except T-Rex maybe, and
Hmm.
that might take a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was really, again, I was comfortable with the rifle. I love that rifle. Uh, we continued on. I think one of the next animals that I shot was a blessbok. Uh, and again, good success. Not with that. An impala buck. And then we shot zebra
Hmm.
with it. Um, then my wife saw the blue wildebeest, and she's like, "We got to have one of those." She loved the color, and that's an animal that's proof that God's got a sense of humor. He just took all the spare parts and put it together. Very unique. It's got its own beauty about it. Uh, took the wildebeest, and I believe next up was a Gemsbach again. All these very fortunate one shot kills. And well, I did have to put a second round in the blessed spot. I did have to put a second round in the blessed spot. Um, and actually, we were kind of wrapping up the hunt. I was still hoping to see a kudu. We came across a few, and Christian and Cobus is like, we we can find something a little bit bigger. We can find something a little bit bigger.
Hmm.
Um, or the situation just wasn't quite right. We really couldn't get into position. Um, I never questioned them. Never
Hmm.
questioned them. I told them, hey, whenever you say it's time to pull the trigger, that's when we'll pull the trigger. Um, a very relaxing hunt. But and waterbuck, saw waterbuck the very last day I was there, and that one was back off into the shrubs and whatnot. I only got a glimpse, and they're very elusive. They're
Hmm.
not very social creatures. Um, and we were coming in, and we came across a herd of sable. And there was a sable that actually had one of his horns, tip of about the last 3 inches. Apparently, he had broken it at one time, and it's a little bit off, and kind of unique. And my wife again, she's like, "Oh, we got," and I said, well, "Okay, yeah, if I take this sable, then that's pretty much the hunt's over with." Uh, so I got her permission, and I was able to sit there and take the sable. He was down in kind of a dry pond area. Uh, Hit him, and he kind of knocked over and turned, and instead of trying to run up the hill or whatnot, he just slowly came up the hill. And I forgot. He said, "Put another round in it," and I'm like, "He's dead." Uh, and he did. He made it to the top of it, and you can see his legs start giving and whatnot. And I've never seen it before, but in the footage that Isaac
Hmm.
took, you can actually see blood not running out, but actually spurting out the chest wall of that sable before he just finally just dropped. Um,
Yeah, that was the thing that really struck me about watching that part of your video was the blood just gushing out of the sable like that. Yeah,
yeah,
you trimmed off his aorta or something like that.
oh, it definitely. And the thing about that again, that 416. Roy Weatherby, he really did have something about speed kills. The shock, the tremendous amount of shock that you please have to excuse my pup back there. She's got to be in the room with me, but every now and then she's got to
so,
itch. My,
so
my apologies.
there's not somebody knocking at the door. You have
No,
an
no,
excited dog
no,
wagging a
no
tail,
one,
huh?
no, no. ATF's not at the door or anything. Um, but no, the shock and that's one of the things that we saw in a lot of the animals whenever we were processing them out. Just the lungs and everything, the shock of that bullet hitting them
Hmm.
was really tremendous. A lot of damage as far as the uh, hollow organs, visceral organs, and whatnot. As far as meat wise, you just put a hole right through it. Especially, I was using solids.
Hmm.
Uh,
Oh, really? You were using solids on all those other animals? I was about to ask you that question.
I
Interesting.
was using solids.
Hmm.
Um, so, and again, one of the funny tales about it, and speaking of, uh, being able to, the right shot, being comfortable with the shot, not forcing something. I actually had my 416 bite me.
Hmm.
I still have a little scar from where I got ringed. Um, and it was one of these things I really couldn't get. It's kind of a off angle. I couldn't really get, and I started looking over. And you don't want to start looking over whenever you're pulling the trigger on the 416 Weatherby.
Hmm.
Eye relief wise, I think it really comes down to I've got about a half inch with the recoil and whatnot coming back, and so you start working into it and trying to make it happen. Learn my lesson. Actually, everybody else was running around and getting bandages and whatnot, and I'm sitting there laughing. I thought it was funny, Uh, and in fact, actually, Isaac, whenever we got back, I made a little public service information spill. Respect your Weatherby, or your Weatherby might bite you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got my red badge of courage right there. Scars are sexy. Women love scars. But no, and that was one of the things, and that actually happened. I think I took mm, three, maybe four more animals. I think that shot was actually at a wildebeest. And Also, one of the things, and I don't know getting in and out, and of course, the Leopold VX6, they've got uh, the locks, turret locks, and
Hmm.
whatever. And again, my mistake on that in coming out, and whenever we first got there and sighting into the rifles and whatnot, made a little adjustment on it. But what I didn't do was adjust the turret to where I could lock it in place there.
Hmm.
Sometime getting in and out of the vehicle, carrying it or whatnot, somehow that turret got turned, and actually missed shot. And my, uh, I was like, man, something's not right. And my wife is like telling Cobus, something's not right because he doesn't do that. And I'm like, well, everybody misses every now and then.
Yeah.
But it just the shot felt right and whatnot, and it didn't. And then right after that, I sit there and I got ringed. Um, and Cobus like, well, you want to use that 300? You got that 300 back? And I'm like, no, let's go back out to the range. And sure enough, I actually made a shot and ended up adjusting 4 MOA up, bringing it up 4 MOA and dead money. And I just, well, I don't have the tools to really sit there and take the turn and turn it, so I just need to remember and check it anytime. And went right back to using that rifle. Um, Again, being familiar with it, I knew everything was good with the gun. It's just something that happened. And as Kobe said, hey, those type of things happen all the time.
Yeah.
It's being able to recognize it and deal with it, make your adjustments, and go on. The sable, I took with that. The very last animal was a impala ewe that I wanted to have a mount of a male and female impala kind of looking at in the same direction. And I went ahead and brought the 300 out for that, just for the fun of it. And that thing hitting that impala was like getting struck by a bolt of lightning. Uh, Only thing you saw was all of a sudden four legs in the air quivering. um, but quick kill. But Yeah, that was one of the things. Weatherby availability of ammo is limited, and everybody tells you, if you go over there, there's a few stores. I think Safari Outdoors in Johannesburg.
Hmm.
You probably get Weatherby ammo. It's still going to be very limited on what type you can get. Like you said on the website,
Hmm.
I think they offer 350 grain and a round nose soft point, the DGX bonded in the 400. Uh, and why they don't offer the solid? Oh, sorry about that. Why they don't offer a solid, I don't know. But like I said, in putting my package together, and my package is not everybody's package,
Hmm.
but it's a package that I felt good with, I practiced with, fired it, and was very comfortable that whenever the time came, I'd be able to sit there and take my animal with it. So um,
It sounded like it worked great for you over there.
it really did. I was very pleased with Hendershot. Everybody was everybody was happy over there. Having a great time. Uh, it just everything fell into place, and not only the hunt, but just while we were doing the spot and stalk from the vehicle, and just the constant cruising and whatnot, all the different animals that we saw. Uh, Neon blue birds. I've never seen a neon blue bird, and it was
Hmm.
truly neon blue. And Cobus and Christian and Philemon, Philemon showing Joe, this is what a cobra, this is what a mamba uh, track looks like. And Joe, she was fascinated. She somehow got very fascinated about snakes, and we actually came up on a python that was crawling down into a hole, and just the largest part of the tail section that I saw was about 4 inch diameter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so nobody was going to jump off of the truck and go down there and grab a tail and try to pull this thing out.
Yeah.
It was big, and that's one of the things. And before we went over there, I told my wife, I said, whenever we're out, there's certain situations I don't want you to be in. Whenever we do the stalk on Cape Buffalo, I want you to stay back at the truck, stay with Christian and whatnot. I just don't want you in that situation. Um,
Hmm.
but Christian, whenever they heard the shot, and then a few minutes, about 5 minutes later, they heard a crackle over the radio, and Kobe's like, "Okay, come on," they're like, "Okay, yeah, he's got it." Um, but I told her, that while we're over there, especially up there in Limpopo, there is a large population of mambas,
Hmm.
and actually, for some reason, mambas happen to like roaming where the Cape buffalo roam.
Hmm.
And so, not only that, but puff adders, snout cobras. I think there's about 8 different species of poisonous snakes. Now, here in Texas, we've got several different varieties of rattlesnakes, but it's pretty much either rattlesnake, copperhead, water moccasin, and we've got the coral snake, but very seldom is anybody ever bit by those. And
So
like I said,
funny thing about coral snakes. My kids got a book about them from the library, or about snakes from the library. And in the coral snake section, it was talking about how unlikely they are to bite humans. And they said that like in the last 30 years in the state of Texas, there were something like 11 cases of people being bit by coral snakes, and in every case, a person was handling the coral snake, and in 9 of those cases, the person was intoxicated while they were doing that. So,
only in Texas.
that's right, yeah. So sorry, continue.
No, it was one of the things, and just expressing, safety wise and whatnot, that, whenever we get out, and especially if we're stalking or whatever, it's going to be very important that we, follow in line and follow footsteps and whatnot, because you don't know what's going to be up underneath this brush or this. And those variety of snakes over there are very unforgiving. Um, but and there again, all the Covas, Christian, everybody, carrying pistols, and watching out for that. But it's one thing that hey, you can't go roving off the trail. You got to sit there, follow the leader,
Mm-hmm.
stay. You walk where they walk. You don't sit there and get off the trail. You don't do that. Um, but just little things like that. Watching it. It's a different. It's different from Texas. It reminds me a lot where we were hunting. Reminds me of some spots out in San Angelo where I deer hunt. There was a lot of things that very familiar
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere. Absolutely love the country. Absolutely love the country. The Limpopo province. Went back for my second hunt in the Limpopo. Going back for a third hunt, I believe we're going to be splitting it up between the Free State province and Limpopo.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but just had a fantastic time. The sights, the sunset. We went and had a sundowner on Wednesday evening and went out and set up on a little knoll and got the lawn chairs out and we're going to watch the sun go down. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that's nice and relaxing, but I've seen sunsets.
Mm-hmm.
And Christian said, the thing about these sunsets, if you look away and you look back, the sun will be in a different location. I'm like, right, sure. And he was right. Literally, you could be watching the sun going down over the tree lines and the mountains in the background and look away and look back, and it was in a different position. The tranquility out there, listening to the animals, the zebras laugh, or it's hard to explain what they do or whatever. But some of the sounds and just the whole atmosphere, and talk about doing the soul good. Just to no airplanes above, no cars, no. Uh, Kobe's had a cell phone. I think Christian had a cell phone. No telephones. Hey, we're out there. We're enjoying it. It's peaceful. It's quiet. Just very, very tranquil. And that evening, like I said, watching the sun go down. On the second hunt, we actually went out at night a couple of times and just stopped and looked at the stars.
Mm-hmm.
The skies were so clear out there, it was like you could reach up and actually pick a star out. And Cole was just sitting there talking about, okay, there's a Big Dipper, there's a Small Dipper, there's Orion's Belt. His astronomy is pretty good,
Now,
very educational.
you hunted in August, and so you've also hunted in April and May. Tell us a little bit about what the weather was like each time of year and how things were different with the height of the grass, how thick the bush was on these two hunts. So the first hunt was August for the listeners.
First time was August, and I was looking, of course, here in Texas. I left, and I think the temperatures were a little over 100. We get over there, and they're ending up their winter over there,
Mm-hmm.
and the weather was actually very, very mild. Uh, Mornings, really maybe high 40s, low 50s, enough to put a jacket on uh, till probably about 9, 10 o'clock. By that time, it's getting about time to start pulling the jackets off. We get up to low 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, first time out, um, I think the first 6 days, 5 or 6 days, there were no clouds. It was absolutely blue sky, no clouds, uh, very little to no humidity, extremely pleasant, extremely. Of course, coming out of the wintertime, the grass, everything's kind of brown. There's still a lot of green in the trees, but the grass around there, a lot of it browned out, was down a little bit. I was very surprised. In contrast, we saw all kinds of warthogs
Mm-hmm.
the first time. They're running, they got their little tails up in the air and whatnot. But you could clearly see them. running around. Second time going back in late April, early May, the only thing you could see is the little tail. That's it. You couldn't see the body of the pig. The grass was up. It was green, very lush. Um, and I will say that April presented some a little bit more difficulties. Again, with the vegetation being up, and even with the fact that they had had some flooding there about 2 weeks before, and it flushed a lot of the dead stuff away. It was still in a lot of areas. It was still very thick. Um, the second time out.
Now
Uh,
it's, now it's interesting though that even with things being later in the dry season, grass being shorter, not quite as many leaves on the trees in August, you still had quite a deal trying to pick out a shot on that buffalo through all that brush.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things. And I'll say this one thing I've learned about Africa. Um, Doing a lot of deer hunting here, and I've hunted a lot of deer from the stand and whatnot, and under feeders and everything. And you have a deer that comes out, they're in the open, and you sit there and you wait until you get ready to take your shot. And they're turned just exactly right or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
In Africa, you probably not really going to get that opportunity for just that perfect shot. You're really going to need to understand the animal's anatomy. Again, with quartering shots, uh, also, and with your ammo and your rifle, what it can do, what it can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Ricochets. I know there's a lot of rifles. That 300 on the second hunt, I took a couple of shots that I wouldn't have taken with that 300. I used the 338 Remington Ultramag with a 250 grain bullet, a heavier bullet. And I'm glad I did because the brush was and the vegetation was much thicker. Um, my kudu that I took on the second hunt, I actually there was a cow that came out and two calves. The calves, you could just see the top of their heads. The cow, you could see her neck up. The bull that followed behind him, you could see his head and neck, uh, and probably about 12 inches of his shoulder and hump, and just the very top portion of his back. The rest of it was, I mean, this 5 foot high, thick vegetation. And it was like, there's your kudu. And I'm like, well, I really, where I want to aim at, I really don't have a sight picture on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to think about it, and I don't like taking wrist shots and whatnot. I mean, it's just not right. But the way the animal presented it was a good. The animal was perpendicular to me. It was going to be a good side shot. The vegetation, it was thick, but it was more bush type.
Mm-hmm.
Again, with that 338 and Ultramag and the bullet that I had chosen for that, 250 grain Norfolk semi-Spitzer. Very tough bullet. Everything I had read about it and whatnot. The thing is extremely tough bullet, and I felt confident that if I hit some twigs or some small limbs and whatnot, I wasn't going to ricochet it off.
Mm-hmm.
That it would be able to sit there and go through the bush. So I dropped down about 12 inches. Um, Watched him as he went through there, put just a little bit of lead on it, and pull the trigger. Whenever it hit, he did the lurch.
Mm-hmm.
He came up and he actually looked like he was trying to mount one of the calves, and then he came down, and each time he sit there with his front legs and dug in trying to go. Each time he got lower and lower, and the fourth time you didn't see any horns anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's down. So it was there again. If some of the other rifles I have 7 millimeter short mag, I wouldn't have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Bullet wise, just too small. I don't think it would have. I really wouldn't have had the confidence it would have been able to beat the bush like it did. Even that 300 Weatherby, um, with the bullets in there, I wouldn't have had the confidence to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
That 338 is bigger, and I actually brought the 338 Ultra Mag because I was looking to hunt Cape Eland.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about again, that's another animal I really didn't realize was as big as what it is until I got my Cape Eland, and that thing was bigger than a Brahma bull. I was really amazed.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I tell people that a big bull eland is as big or bigger than a Cape buffalo. They are giant animals.
they really are and thick. And my Cape Eland, I got a good size shot, and that was actually I was very fortunate. And it was even offhand another heart shot. I was blessed. I was blessed on that hunt, and my aim happened to be true. And right rifle, right ammo, um, quick kills. And there again, it just everything felt right.
Mm-hmm.
I had the confidence in the rifle. I've had that rifle for a while. I actually had that rifle made. And the ammo, I had researched it out. Again, Hinder shots. Uh, they did me right. They sit there and I think I had 150 rounds made up by Hinder shot, and I've got 2 boxes left between practicing. And before that, I was practicing with 225 Accubons. I was like, I want something a little bit stouter. So trying to find a bullet like that, came across Norfolk, and okay, interesting design. So I started doing more research into it. Started reading some reviews about the. I got a little thunderstorm here. Reviews about the performance of it, and was really impressed. And so I'm like, you know what? I think I found my bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Again, nobody loads them. I talked to Hendershot. Hendershot said we don't have any, and so I said, once again, hey, if I get the bullets, will you load them for me? And they said, absolutely. You get the bullets, send them up here, and we'll load them up. So once again, I looked at it, and I found a supplier that had the 250 semi Spitzers. Uh, Purchased them, sent them to the Hendershots, had them load up, and I think even Cobus was really surprised and to the point of even being amazed at how that rifle and how that ammo did on these animals. There were a number of them that had through and through shots that just went through it. The Cape Eland. Uh, the Cape Eland, again, it was a good broadside shot. It was a heart shot. The bullet was actually, you could feel it up underneath the skin. You didn't have to. There was a lump there
Mm-hmm.
that you could feel. And actually, whenever we got it back to the skinning shed, I took a knife and just made a small slit, put my finger in, and pulled the bullet out. Perfect mushroom. Uh, if I may, I've got a picture of the bullets that came out of the Cape Eland and also my zebra. And again, excellent mushroom. I haven't had a chance, didn't get a chance to weigh the bullets. I would say probably weight retention, I guarantee, is going to be at least 90% plus.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at them, and you couldn't ask for a better mushroom of them. And one of the things that I did different this hunt that I want to do on my next hunt is on the plains game is use a suppressor. I've never hunted with a suppressor. I have a suppressor, and suppressors bring a whole new light to the game. And I say that because I have never before heard the bullet hit like I did with the suppressor.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's not going to, it's not the TV poof poof, whatnot. You're going to have a report from the rifle. But on these animals that was really, it was actually kind of comforting because you would hear the report, and then about that time, it'd sound like somebody just pow a sound of beef. You'd hear that, and about that time, you see the animal, and you go, yeah, that hit hard. Um,
So were you using Kubis's suppressor he normally has on his 338 Win Mag?
I believe it was.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
that's quite a combination. Like that 338 Win Mag is great, and
yes, it
man,
is.
your 338 Ultra Mag, especially with those 250 North Forks, you just turn it up a little bit more.
Took a giraffe down. Again, another big animal, and that was a slightly quartering shot coming into the right shoulder, and again, it actually got it in the heart. She ran about 60 yards and just fell over. Uh, and that was, again, that's another animal. You see them in zoos, you see them out and around. But until you actually walk up and put your hands on one to really see just how big of an animal that is. Um, and if you really look at it, out here in Texas, you've got so many folks, using 7 millimeters and 30-06s and 308s, down to 243s, 223s, whatnot on deer, and you're talking about 160, 180-pound animal.
Mm-hmm.
And here you're shooting animals that weigh a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like a little bit more on the heavy side. There again, you're dealing with some tough tissue. You're dealing with some big bones. You want that penetration. You're not talking about going through.
Actually, let me show you something, and I'll show you so some of the listeners that are watching this. This is a giraffe leg bone. I mean, this is insane. How big this darn thing is. It's just one of them too.
Oh yes, and hitting them up in the shoulder and those joints and whatnot. There again, your bullet. You've got to have a strong, heavy bullet. To if you're going to hit that, or your bullet's going to come to pieces. You're going to have an animal that's got 3 legs now instead of 4 to run on, and you're going to be in for a long, long trip. Especially something like zebra. They're like, hey, if he takes off, if you've got to put a second round in it, put it in his hip.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to try to do something because when that thing he takes off, they'll be a half mile away before you can say go.
Yeah, there's a joke Kubis tells about people that make bad shots on eland. Oftentimes, if you hit them in not quite the right spot on the shoulder, they'll wave their leg like that a little bit when they go, and he says, "Come on, follow me. Let's go for a run. Let's go."
Yeah.
And that's what you do, man. An eland walks as fast as a person runs.
Oh yes, and so like I said, some folks might say, "Well, Jim, you're a little heavily gunned there." There again, the situation with my kudu. That's something. If I didn't have a heavy bullet like that, I wouldn't have taken a shot with possibly a higher speed, lighter bullet because of the chance of ricocheting off, veering off because of the brush. Um, but confidence wise, and each animal that I took just compounded my confidence that particular combo.
Mm-hmm.
It really seemed to be a really really good match for that. And again, whenever we recovered some of the bullets, um, I was just amazed because perfect mushrooms, and the job that it did on those animals. All of them. It was just like, hey, it doesn't get any better than this. It
So
really doesn't.
you said on the second hunt you recovered a North Fork from your eland, and then another one from your zebra.
Yes.
And then, did you recover any from the buffalo on the first hunt?
No, actually, and that probably it was somewhere in the gut pouch.
Okay.
Uh, like I said, Christian came out. He showed me the heart. One had a hole in it about the size of my little finger,
Mm-hmm.
and on the back side of it is blown out about that much. Just that very tough heart tissue. Um, like I said, it's you did well. You had sent me that the copy of that
Perfect shot.
Perfect Shot number two. I had the hard copy of Perfect Shot number one, and I'd always hey, I want to go and study that. Um, and I did. In fact, actually, whenever I was out, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I kept that in one of my cargo pockets and whatnot, and just, if we're sitting there. Now, I will tell you this. The animals out there in Africa, they have bush telepathy. And I say that meaning that if you're not particularly looking for that species, you're going to see them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be out, they're going to stand there, and they're going to look at you, and you're going to pass by them and whatnot. But the minute you start thinking about, I think I might want to, the minute you even start to slow down and whatnot, they're gone, and they're gone at a pace that you're not going to be able to stalk them. I mean, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, they're already half a county away. So, and I laughed about that because, we're like, just shot this, and now a kudu's everywhere.
Yeah.
Where were you?
Mm-hmm.
But no, my kudu, I was extremely happy with my kudu.
First hunt went over mainly for buffalo. You didn't get the kudu that you wanted, but you got some other stuff. And then you came back on that second trip and you got a great kudu, a giant eland, waterbuck, giraffe, zebra, impala. Hunted with the 416 and the 300 Weatherby on that first trip. And then the 338 rum on the second. And those are all cartridges, especially the 338 and the 416, that some people have problems with the recoil on them, and shot placement could be an issue. But if you could shoot them well and you're using a good bullet, which you were, then they work wonderfully. Like was the case there. I mean, a 250 North Fork out of a 338 rum, deadly. I mean, I don't know that I would do it, but you could probably kill a Cape buffalo with that combination.
Coach have made that comment that if he had that rifle and something came about, an encounter with the buffalo, he'd feel confident. And no, it's not a legal caliber over there, but it's enough of a caliber it might get you out of trouble.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, you had two great trips there, taking buffalo, Plains game, talking about coming back, or you are not just talking about coming back for a third trip. You are booked for a third trip. What are you looking at for this final trip, or this next trip anyway?
This next trip, I'm coming back. I'd really like to. For me, first and foremost, I want to go after another Cape buffalo. I want to experience that again. Other two animals that I really possibly another kudu, and I saw a. Which I hadn't seen before on this last outing. I saw the golden wildebeest, a beautiful animal, and I'd like to see about getting a golden wildebeest. My wife, we're looking at doing the Plains game, probably Free State Plains game for her, and I believe we're going to be looking at the red hartebeest. I think she's also interested in the black wildebeest. Again, another impala, a blessbok, and I think a springbok.
Yeah, that's all the bread and butter species in the Free State you just listed.
And really, between all three of the hunts together, if we're fortunate on this third hunt, we're really going to have a very good cross section of animals. Something that I'm already very proud of the animals that I've had the opportunity to take. Thank God for that. And I've really got some excellent species. That waterbuck, I could not have asked for a better waterbuck. The horns on that animal. Absolutely. I'm one of these folks, again, I'm real big on symmetry. I'm not the atypical, you know, rack type kind of guy. I like the symmetry. And that water buck and the kudu, uh, you know, their their horns were just absolutely perfect. My kudu actually, Cobus again, he remarked that he was really excited about the kudu because this kudu, his horns were actually very narrow
Hmm.
together instead
Straight
of,
up.
you
Yeah.
know, they almost went straight up. And actually, if you look down the spiral of the horns, it was about an inch and a half diameter. It looked like you could take a rod and run it down all the way down to the eye, and it looked like, you know, somebody had just wrapped a horn around it. Uh, Really, I was thrilled with it. The water buck, again, as I said, very elusive, and we spent hours sitting there going around, and had a small herd moving through this thicket of thick brush, and about the same type thing. Actually, he presented himself in a small opening, but there was still a lot of vegetation around. So it wasn't a clear open standing under the feeder shot.
Hmm.
And like I said, sometimes what Africa gives you,
Hmm.
you're going to have a chance. And once they know that you're looking at them, they're gone.
Hmm.
You know, they're not going to sit there and wait for you. And so you got to make up your mind and make that decision. Uh, is it a go or no go?
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a listener that I also had on the show that's hunted with us for the listener that's listening to this right now, episode 294, Scott Spanton. He also took a very nice water buck on a hunt over there, and that also turned out to be one of the big highlights of his hunt. Has a good story associated with that. Um, as we wrap up today, Jimmy, do you have any advice you'd give to someone that is thinking about coming on a hunt to Africa, and or maybe something that you wish you would have known before that first hunt?
You know, I really, despite all the reading, all the talking with you, I know we spoke numerous times before the first hunt over the phone, texting, emails, and whatnot. I probably bother you more than I should.
No,
Um,
no.
uh, there again, you know, there's a lot of folks out there. One, to get to go to Africa and hunt, it's we're fortunate,
Hmm.
very fortunate. Anybody that gets, I don't care what you're hunting, just to get to go over there and see Africa and to hunt is a privilege. Um, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that have different advice, different opinions. Listen to it all.
Hmm.
Don't sit there and put blinders on. Listen to it all. Consider it all. Um, Whenever you're outfitting yourself uh, with your rifle, with your equipment, outfit yourself with something that you're comfortable with. Like I said, my 416 Weatherby, I'd had plenty of opportunity. Uh, I'm not a small guy. I can weather the storm pretty good with that. I'm used to it. In fact, actually, kind of like a boxer, you kind of start liking to get hit. It's you're shooting a man's gun.
Hmm.
No offense against any ladies out there, uh, but that thing, I had two 460s. Never had an opportunity to hunt with them. I actually bought them to collect them, but I actually think the 416 Weatherby, the recoil is actually sharper on the 416 Weatherby than the 460. The 460 more of a heavy push. Um, but you got to be comfortable with it. If you're worried about pulling that trigger, if you know you've got in the back of your mind, yeah, it's gonna kick.
Hmm.
Then to look for a caliber that's a little bit more comfortable uh, with you. You know, if you're going dangerous game, 375. Been a lot of, you know, that's really probably one of the most favorite cartridges over there, and it's taken tons and tons of buffalo. Um, Scope wise, optics, uh, get you a good set of optics on your rifle if you're gonna go with that, and practice, practice, practice. Don't just going out to the range, sitting down on the bench. That's not how you're going to be shooting out there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a mistake that a lot of people make. Um, I would say probably my first time going out there, I didn't spend enough time shooting off the sticks. I really wasn't that comfortable shooting off the sticks, and also probably offhand. Uh, you know, Situation arises and whatnot. Especially whenever you're going on the stalk, you never know what's going to be around the next corner, and so being able to do an offhand shot at a reasonable distance, you should feel comfortable with that. Um, Again, shooting off the sticks looks easy. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it takes practice. Shooting standing on and placing your rifle on some type of rest. There again, different positions of shooting. Don't just go out to the range and okay, yeah, I sighted in my rifle. I'm good with this because that's not the position you're going to be shooting in.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as I said, Africa, some of your shots you're going to be out for one time,
Yep.
one opportunity. So you really got to make it count. Uh, Ammo, put the lead down the barrel and down range.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put enough. You can't put enough. Practice, 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 practice. The more you practice, the more comfortable you're going to be, and the more comfortable you're going to be whenever that situation comes up. The second hunt, I can definitely say I was probably a lot more comfortable, uh, and as a result, probably made better shots. Because whenever I got on it, I'm like, hey, I'm there. I've got it. This one's going down. Um, and confidence. You got to have the confidence. Listen to your pH. Especially Cobus. I got to meet Johan this last time. Cobus, just a bull of a man. Only thing bigger than Cobus is his heart. Just a super guy, absolutely super guy. Uh, People, you've got to understand your pH is out there uh, to help you have a successful hunt. They want you to be happy with the game. They're not out there just to put you on some animals. You got to listen to them. Your tracker, you got to listen to them. Like I said, whenever Philman started slapping me on the back, it's a big one. Okay, he's telling you, pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Pull the trigger. You're not going to have opportunity like this. Pull the trigger and enjoy the scenery. Relax and take in the beauty. The hunt is just not about putting the animal down.
All good advice, Jimmy. So as we wrap up, I have one final question for you. This is a question I'm asking every person that I'm interviewing on the podcast this year.
Okay.
You must choose one to hunt with for the rest of your life. Everything that you're going to hunt with, or everything that you are going to hunt, whitetail deer, African plains game, buffalo, whatever. Either a single cartridge or a single bullet. And if you choose a single cartridge, you can use any bullet in it. And if you choose a single bullet, you can use it in any cartridge. So what is your selection for that?
If I was going to go to Africa and just take one rifle, or anywhere and just have one rifle to do anything I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably have to go with that 338 Ultra Mag with the North Fork.
Okay.
I mean, actually, I built that rifle to sit there and go up Kodiak bear hunting. And I couldn't think of a better rifle to take on that. Moose, elk. Again, you've got a rifle that can do long range.
Mm-hmm.
It can hit hard and heavy close range. You don't have to worry about brush. Um, Again, it's a little bit bigger caliber than a lot of folks will say, but that combination is a deadly combination for whatever sounds downrange.
I think that is an excellent choice, Jimmy. So it was a pleasure talking to you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Take careful note of the North Fork bullets Jimmy used on his most recent hunt. There is something big coming with them I will announce soon. Now, as I record this, we still have one opening remaining for a hunt in South Africa, October of 2025, and we have a couple of spots left next year in 2026 in March, April, May, September, October, and November. We will set you up with the safari of your dreams if you book a hunt with us. Jimmy waited 30 years for his first hunt. It turned out to be everything he dreamed it would be and more. Now, if you book a hunt with us in Africa, you'll be hunting with Kubis or Christian and or Johan in the exact same area where Jimmy hunted with us twice, or you'll have the possibility, if you want to, of hunting in our Free State location where Jimmy is going on his third trip with us in 2027. And of course, if you book with us, I'll be available to help you answer questions, sort out logistics, and just make sure that you are fully prepared for a safe, fun, and successful hunt. You can hunt plains game with us. You can hunt buffalo with us. You can hunt both, really just like Jimmy did. Email me, john@thebiggamehuntingblog.com, or visit bestsafarihunt.com at the link in the episode description to learn more about our hunts. Make sure you tell me you are a podcast listener when you inquire with me. I do give podcast listeners a special bonus. Remember, you can make your dream hunt turn into a reality, and we can help. Thanks for listening. I'll see you back here next time on the Big Game Hunting Podcast.